Hi friends, and welcome to Teacher Therapy. I hope you guys are safe and I hope that you're well. I haven't filmed this. I kind of have been putting it off because I felt weird making a video about quitting teaching when it literally feels like the world is falling apart in front of us. It felt kind of just trivial and silly to even think about my teacher woes when clearly there are so many problems in the world. However, I do think that this will pass, and a lot of us will still be left wondering what to do in terms of our career, whether or not we want to continue teaching, and if it's all worth it. And so actually during this time, it's really caused me to reflect even more upon why I haven't quit my teaching job yet and why a lot of teachers don't quit. And I think the drama and the intensity of the world circumstances really is kind of a microphone and an amplification to how a lot of our everyday troubles feel. So I hope that made sense. Anyway, let me just go ahead and get into the video. So I've made several videos at this point now about why teachers do quit, but why do teachers decide to keep teaching, particularly when they don't enjoy their job and when sometimes they're actually quite miserable? And I think that it can be summed up in basically two words. Pretty much it's security versus happiness. And I think for a lot of teachers, including myself, the profession of teaching offers a lot of security. And in many different ways. For one, there's normally a need for teachers no matter what state you go to. It's fairly guaranteed that there will be some kind of job, even if you have to move around in a state. Teaching is basically a profession that it seems like will be needed forever as long as the world exists. So it feels secure in terms of, finding a job. Teaching also feels secure in terms of things like retirement, even though a lot of times a lot of teachers feel underpaid as educators. If teachers stick it out over the long haul, I've been told that teaching has one of the best retirement plans of all the professions that exist. So there is a feeling of long-term security in old age. There's a feeling of being able to find a job no matter what. And I think too, there's a sense of security when it comes even to the duration of the job and how it works, having guaranteed weekends off for the most part, having guaranteed evenings off, and having all holidays off plus summers. That really, for a lot of teachers, I think equals out to the feeling of a lot of security. So even if the job feels miserable, there's this feeling that it's going to be a stable job, at least in terms of, being able to find one and the money. And that doesn't even count insurance. We all know that insurance and benefits can be sort of difficult to come by anyway, but teaching is one of the jobs that tends to have a lot of those things covered, even if it kind of eats into the paycheck. At least like, hey, I have some kind of insurance, vision, dental, all that good stuff. So I think the feeling of security for a lot of teachers definitely trumps the feeling of happiness. And so I think that during this time, wow, that feeling is so amplified. Even though teaching frustrates me so much, at this time, I'm actually grateful that I have a job as a teacher. I know that no matter what happens for the rest of this school year, that I'm going to be getting a paycheck. Now, I know that that's not the case for teachers in all states, but by and large, it seems for the most part that, full-time certified teachers have that security of knowing they're getting a paycheck, even if we're not working at this time because of the situation. And so I think that really kind of begs the question about what we value the most in our life. I think for a lot of people, the reality of taking care of other people and even having their basic needs cared for is a lot more important than being happy. And I can also kind of relate to that right now because essentially I've been supporting my parents who live in another state because my mom is disabled and my dad was a sole breadwinner and he lost his job and he is 62 years old and is having a really difficult time finding employment. And me being a teacher has literally made the difference between my parents essentially being homeless and, them being able to keep a roof over their head and food on the table. And so I think for a lot of teachers, the sense of responsibility and needing to literally feed and care for people and have them live and survive really comes before feelings of happiness in a lot of cases. And so just overall feeling secure, I think, really comes before a lot of teachers' sense of happiness and sometimes even mental and physical well-being, sadly enough. I think another reason that teachers don't quit even when they want to is the tremendous sense of guilt. Since teaching is often seen as a helping profession, I think that it is kind of difficult sometimes to explain to people why teaching is so hard. I think a lot of people just perceive it as like loving and caring for children and students, and they have absolutely no idea of how difficult it is as a job these days. And so I think trying to deal with that personal guilt of, leaving behind students, leaving behind kids that we really do love and we really do care about. There is a tremendous sense of guilt and even a sense of loss at the idea of leaving behind a profession that it feels like, changes kids' lives and really helps needy and hurting kids. And there are so many needy and hurting kids these days. And so there's a tremendous sense of guilt in leaving behind the profession. One thing I also did not mention that I think kind of goes with the first one in terms of security. I think a lot of teachers are carrying massive student loan debt. I know that between my husband and I, we probably have nearly $100,000 in student loan debt. And so I think for a lot of teachers, they're hoping to get some kind of loan forgiveness by staying in the profession. But even just having a job that could begin to pay down that debt means a lot, even if it happens really slowly. Just knowing that, okay, I'm going to have some kind of stable job to pay off my student loans, or, if I get some kind of public student loan forgiveness, all of those things keep teachers in the field, even if they are feeling 100% miserable. Yeah. On top of that, the prospect of changing careers as a teacher feels really hard. I basically have 2 degrees. I have a youth ministry degree, which is a really specific degree, and then I have a education teaching degree, which is also a really specific degree. So for me, trying to figure out what to even do is super hard. I thought about actually becoming a school counselor or even a mental health counselor because I really feel passionate about the mental health field. And so this year, I actually tried going back to school to get a second master's degree in counseling, but it felt completely impossible to both be a teacher and be going to grad school even part-time. Just felt outrageous and dismaying, and there were so many requirements and it was going to take so long that I ended up stopping after the first semester. So I think that the skills feel so specific to be a teacher that even if it does apply to a lot of professions, I don't know that employers always necessarily see it that way. And, again, there's this just perception that teachers just spend all day kind of like loving and hanging out with kids. So trying to apply the degree of education and teaching to other fields feels daunting sometimes. So being a teacher and having that specialization and then looking into the job market feels depressing. Let me just put it out there. Even trying to get another job in education feels crazy and impossible. And I have thought about going the principal route, but that would be an absolute disaster. That's not going to happen. I thought about going the instructional coaching route, but something about that I'm not too sure about either. And here lately, I've been so desperate to stop being a teacher that I even thought about just substituting or being a para or being an ISS teacher. But I am now looking at the realities that my salary would basically go down by like 55%. And all of the benefits for the most part would disappear overnight. So then it goes back to that security of thinking, well, I could be a para or a sub or, some kind of other support staff in a school. But then all of a sudden I won't have insurance. I won't have a paycheck over the summer. And so it just keeps coming back to this question, I think, for myself and for a lot of teachers and a lot of people, especially in a time like this. I think happiness just kind of gets put on the back burner and we just kind of feel like we have to survive, basically. And I think too, for a lot of teachers, I think they are kind of unique individuals, like the kind of person that would want to stand up in front of a room of 30 adolescents and teach every day is not necessarily the kind of person that may want to sit behind an office desk in a cubicle and file papers all day or answer phones. It just almost feels like, as a teacher, that essentially it feels like we would be taking sort of a step down in some cases by either taking a lower paying job within education, or by, just maybe going into sales or insurance or customer service or office jobs. That honestly sounds, I think, for a lot of teachers, sad too. So there's a question too of, for all the nonsense that comes with teaching, is it actually better to just stay a teacher? So yeah, I don't know, guys. I think a lot of us are really thinking about our futures during this time. And I think if we were considering teaching before this, pandemic has exploded on the world's landscape, I think now a lot of us are thinking, man, maybe I just need to continue to be a teacher and maybe try to figure out how to be happy while being a teacher. And that's kind of the dilemma I'm facing right now, is just, do I want to let go of all of the security that teaching brings, or do I want to be happy? And is there a middle ground? Can we figure out ways to be happy while dealing with all of the nonsense of teaching? And if I stay teaching, that will be my life quest, because like you, I'm sure nobody wants to be miserable. Nobody wants to be depressed and anxious and sad and angry all the time by their job. But as you guys know, so much of the craziness that goes with teaching creates all of those emotions today. So I hope all of you guys are staying healthy and well and safe, and feel free to chat below and tell me what you guys are thinking about. What do you value more? Do you value security more? Do you value happiness more? And I'm curious to know, in light of everything that's been happening, what are some of your plans for next year? All right. I thank you for watching and have a great day.